This probably was, well, it for sure was one of the most surreal experiences that I've personally ever lived through. The past few days have literally been nothing short of a daze, and it's really quite challenging to express to people who haven't experienced a natural disaster in any way, shape, or form how much sensory overload really does take place. The noise, the smell, the panic, the fear, like all of this stuff hits you like a wicked sucker punch, and you just have to roll with the punches. You just have to roll with the blows. You don't really have a choice. You don't know what's going to happen. You can't control the outcome. You just have to deal with what comes your way, and whatever happens, then you deal with the consequences of that. The building I was in, along with the clients and fellow trainers that were there with me, it's just an open concept building with a front bay of windows. There's no basement. And luckily, the wind was blowing away from the windows. But, you're looking out this bay of windows, and all you're seeing is this heavy steel being tossed around in front of the building. Essentially, what looks to be the equivalent of paper mache. Like, these are hundreds of pounds of steel each piece. They're 15 feet long, and 3 or 4 feet wide, some of these pieces. And they're literally just whipping through the air like a feather. And that's enough to make you really question what the outcome is going to be. All it takes is one piece to fly towards you, and it's all over. So the building was shaking, the roof was shaking, water's pouring in from holes in the roof, glass is shattering, and as fast as it all comes, it's all over with. It's all done. It's if I'd probably be generous if I said it lasted 90 seconds. It really is just amazing the power that Mother Nature can unleash at any given moment with next to no warning at all. We may have had 5 seconds to really register what was coming through before we ran to as much shelter as we could. So it wasn't until we walked outside of the building when everything really did start to register. It's all the material damage that registers first, because you're looking around and you see the buildings beside us and across the street are basically missing roofs and walls, which is pretty substantial damage for buildings of such a caliber. There are cars that were totaled, including my own, which I just did a walk around of. You can smell natural gas in the air. Alarms are going off, police sirens, lights everywhere, emergency crews running everywhere. Power lines are down all across the parking lots and all across the roads. People are screaming, and there's panic, and the amount of material damage that took place. And of course, all of these things can be replaced. That's not the issue. But it really makes you sit there or stand and say, every one of us doesn't have a scratch. Every one of us is walking. We're okay. We're not bleeding. We're not cut. We're overwhelmed, but that's it. And you see the sheer amount of damage surrounding you. And it really makes you go, how did that not kill us? How did that not completely wipe us out? So, when the tornado hit us, the winds registered, I think it was 230 kilometers an hour, which is pretty substantial to say the least. I believe that's a small F3 or a large F2, falls around that area somewhere. And when you factor in the sheer amount of debris, it is a miracle that there were only 3 minor injuries across the street from us. I like to joke and say that it really does just affirm my personal theory of invincibility. But in reality, it really is quite humbling after the fact. After all was said and done, I managed to get home. And I know it's always about training with me. I smoked a 441-pound deadlift for 2 doubles. I did feel very confident with the weight after the fact. Now, a couple days later, I got under the squat bar and I was wiped. The wave crashed. The adrenaline was gone. I was not feeling it. I was under 341. It moved. It moved, but I don't think it wanted to. I think gravity was working against me that day. It was just slow, slow, slow. And in retrospect, I was spent. I was overwhelmed. And, I'm of the mindset that no matter what happens in my life, training is me time. And although I was overwhelmed and stressed and drained, I still got in there and I did my thing because, I have a little bit of a personal fear that, if you start making excuses over anything, it's can become a habit in your life. It can very quickly become something that, if you make an excuse for that, well, I can get out of this one too. So as much as I can, if I'm walking, breathing, I feel okay, I don't have a killer headache, and even if I do, I'm gonna try and get in there and do something. The quote John Bros said was, "How you feel is a lie." So I do like to get in there and get working and see how I feel, and then judge after I've gotten started what I want to do that day. So I did feel good, especially on the deadlift day. Not so hot on the squat day, but we rolled with the punches, as I said earlier. So I don't know uh, if going home to deadlift after walking away from the wreckage of a tornado might mean I have some sort of mental disability or weird addiction going on. I'm almost certain that it does, but as I say, I'm playing to win, and I got lucky on Wednesday, and I was not forced to check out. So it's imperative that I stay committed to my training and make certain that I check in. So simply put, this was an extremely humbling experience. And I know it sounds cliche, but this is an experience that I will have with me for my entire life. And, it really does make you smile when you wake up in the morning, even if it's only because you were able to do simply that, wake up. So stay fit, stay sexy, stay inspired, and make sure you subscribe for more content.